today. The Department of Justice and the FBI are now investigating what they say is a disturbing spike in harassment of school administrators over CRT. Yes, in fact, you could be a domestic terrorist if you dare raise hell with your school board. A new bombshell report also shows coronavirus was in China as early as May 2019, and China knew about it. Is anyone surprised? I don't think so, but we'll get into the details anyway, and it all starts right now. Hey, welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. Today, look, I'm just going to call this the honky tonk episode. Okay, because I am joined by two cowboys, and I mean that in the most respectful, amazing way. We've got Chad Prather, host of the Chad Prather Show.
Don't you know that if you would listen to social media, you'd know we're all hat and no cattle?
That's what drives me nuts.
Right.
Okay, so we're also joined by Sheriff Bill Wayburn of Tarrant County. So do you get that a lot too? People are like, oh, you're not a real cowboy.
Yeah.
That's so obnoxious.
I own cows and I'm a boy.
Well.
And I have people who work for me, so maybe that makes me a cattle man.
Well, but I think you've done enough with cattle to
I've
qualify,
done a lot.
I think.
I'm not at the point where I'm branding people like that show, whatever it's called, Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I'm not at that point, but I'll get there. Make me governor and watch.
Oh, God. Also, by the way, I was going to introduce you as also author of the new book that you need in your life.
Finally. Am I Crazy? Get it where books are offered.
Yes, please.
And it's finally out.
It's a good one. And I don't mean to brag or anything, but some of the people who endorse your book on the back are really cool too.
They're all right. Your name even pops up.
All right, let's get into the headlines. We've got a lot to get into. So Attorney General Merrick Garland actually ordered the FBI yesterday to begin investigating what they say is a recent spike in, quote, harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence against school administrators. The Department of Justice, here's this is the memo that went out over here, and they said they are directing U.S. attorneys and the FBI to work with local officials to identify and curb threats to school administrators. Of course, it did not cite specific examples, which I'm sure is no surprise to either of you sitting at this table. And they said, while spirited debate about policy matters is protected under our Constitution, the protection does not extend to threats of violence or efforts to intimidate individuals based on their views. Threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values. Interesting that he brought up nation's core values. Those who dedicate their time and energy to ensuring that our children receive a proper education in a safe environment deserve to be able to do their work without fear for their safety. So it's just interesting because this does come at the same time that we keep seeing all of these viral videos surface of all of these school board meetings. Parents, by the way, of every color, shape, and size, talking to the school board administrator saying, we do not want you to teach critical race theory in our schools. We don't believe that it's helpful. We think that it's divisive. It's not true. And we wish that you would stop teaching it. We've seen police who, did you happen to see what happened in Round Rock, Sheriff?
No, I have not.
So apparently the school board set up, did you hear about this, Chad? Okay, so tell me if I'm getting this correctly. The school board called the police to keep people out of the meeting.
So Jeremy Story, who will actually be on my show Thursday night, great guy. He's a chaplain down there with. He's got a pretty great position in influence down there. He goes in and they were physically hindering him. They actually injured him. The police did, hindered him from going in. He had some information he was going to expose. I'll let you watch the show and find out about that. But then a few nights later, they came about 10 o'clock at night and arrested him and another parent at his house. And so this was a situation where the school board, the president of the school board was actually telling the police what to do in going in. This is what happens when you create little tyrants and give them power they should never have. See, what should be illegal is continuing to send our kids to these brainwashing institutions that are normalizing Marxist socialism and teaching them these crazy concepts that are completely against American culture and our way of life. And then, you know, you go to a school, you walk into the office and say, hey, as a parent, I'm here to get my kid. And they go, why? It's not your business why.
Right.
It's my kid. At some point in time, we have to put the authority back in the hands of the parents. School board wasn't there when you were having that baby and clawing out your husband's eyeballs and cussing him. They weren't there for that. I know.
How do you know?
I got kids. I was there for all of them. And so this is the kind of thing where they have stepped over, and now they're going to turn this and turn over, gosh, what state was it the other day where they came out and said, was it California, where they said your children are basically, they belong to the state. You know, as far as your education, parents should not have a say in the education of their children. Of course it's time to fight back against this. Yeah.
And this does come, you know, I mentioned domestic terrorism kind of tongue-in-cheek earlier, but this does come at the same time that it's like the National School Board Association is also deeming. I mean, they're basically saying if you are in opposition to CRT, that you would qualify as a domestic terrorist. So we've got all of these plates spinning at the same time. Don't think it's coincidence that this is happening, Sheriff.
Well, let me say this about that. Those people are way off the bubble. CRT is a wrong thing. It divides the nation. It critically divides us. It goes against every doctrine of Martin Luther King, every doctrine that we have tried to come up with to unify this nation. That's number one. Number two is that I have absolutely confidence in local authorities to investigate, and the AG needs to stay at home. If he wants to declare domestic terrorism, I would like to point out these folks south of the border we call the cartel. Right. And let's declare them terrorists, and they are the number one law enforcement issue. But I would say that for the folks that are struggling with this, it's a horrible struggle. The bitter pill is that we've got to stand up, we got to be accounted for, we got to get organized, and we got to turn over that school board. Yeah. That's what we've got to do. And we've seen that happen in Tarrant County, where Tim O'Hara led a great flight up on the north, where he gathered up support, overturned the school board, threw out critical race theory, and it was incredible. At the same time, I have a strong recommendation for these parents. I agree absolutely with Chad. I'm in charge of my kids. I'm responsible for my kids. Pull them out of that school. Homeschool is tough and it's sacrificial, but we can figure it out and do something different and get out of that secular school so that we take the power away from them. The power being taken away from them immediately is that child not being in that seat.
Right. Well, and that's a great point that you bring up, because a lot of people, conservatives especially, they're like, I work. Right? We work hard. I work. We both work. We work full time. How am I supposed to do it? And it's like, well, what's your other option?
I love how measured and deliberate the sheriff always is, right? Like, that's his way of saying what I would say, let's burn it to the ground. Like, let's just anathema. Let's just a Carthaginian peace. Just rake it under, pour salt on the field so nothing ever grows there again. It's a socialist Marxist institution. The Department of Education has never educated anybody, right? So here's what you do. You get together with a group of parents and you say, we're going to hire a teacher. We're going to hire a teacher, and she's going to come into our home, and our kids in our neighborhood, where they're going to come in there, and we're going to have a little one-room schoolhouse, just like they did at Little House on the Prairie.
Little co-op.
And we're going to have our own little co-op, and we're going to put together, you know what, I put in $10,000 a year, you put in $10,000 a year. It's not that hard to do. And I mean, you pick your number, you pick your group of people, but there's solutions to doing this. And you're right. When little Johnny, and God bless him, he doesn't have to wear a mask, you know, if he's at home in a co-op school being taught, they're going to notice when little Johnny's not there.
Yeah. I feel like the left has really done a great job of becoming activists in everything that they do. They put activism first, and I think it's been a tough lesson for conservatives to learn, that you're not going to keep your country by not getting involved, not getting active, not getting active at the local level, especially because, Sheriff, as you pointed out, they really have done a great job, sadly, of infiltrating all of the local, you know, the school board, all of the local elections. It's scary to see who people are electing in.
Absolutely. Why? I want to make it clear. I don't want any bullies. I don't want anybody threatened. I don't want any of that done. That's not the right thing to do. But doing things like what Chad just suggested and what you said, I think that's where we go, and we go gangbusters at it. And wouldn't it be amazing if a major school here in Texas or anywhere else all of a sudden was empty tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a signal.
It really would. I know, and that's why I keep telling people with the vaccine mandates, with school, especially, there is strength in numbers. But you have to stick together and do it all at once. That's where you're going to have your power.
Martin Luther King Jr. I encourage conservatives, go back and really study what Martin Luther King did in civil disobedience, peaceful protest. They went to jail over it, but that's okay.
Right.
Go back and study what they did, and we've just gotten so lazy that people don't. They want the state to take care of it. We've given them all the power, and then we want to complain that they took it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We've got to prepare to sacrifice today to regain our country.
Amen.
And it's going to be sacrifice in our own checking account. It's going to be sacrifice in our own time. But if we stand up and do that, we can make a difference.
We can save it for our children.
Amen.
Really. All right. So in the midst of all of this, the Biden administration, I think, is no surprise to anyone, is being blasted for weaponizing the DOJ. Here's a tweet from Matt Walsh. Leftist activists can come to your house with bullhorns, film you in the bathroom, loot your business, burn police stations. The FBI does nothing. But if conservative parents raise their voices at a school board meeting, they're hunted down as terrorists. The law is dead. And then we have another one from, I believe it's Ted Cruz. At his confirmation hearing, Merrick Garland promised not to follow the Obama model of weaponizing the DOJ to target and persecute his political opponents. Just a few months in, he's already breaking that promise, and then put the hashtag critical race theory. So, have you guys been keeping up with how Matt Walsh has been fighting back against all of the CRT nonsense and the school boards and Loudoun County? I personally think it's great. I love
that they had no idea what was coming their way when Matt Walsh stepped up to the microphone.
Yeah.
And just had church basically.
Yes, yeah.
At their expense.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
It was amazing. It was really amazing. But Sheriff, what are your thoughts on? Again, I know we've touched on the FBI, and I want to make this clear. I don't mean any disrespect towards the people at the FBI, but it does seem that the big bureaucracy part of it has really just done such a disservice to the name itself. They're focused on like white rage and all of these issues when we've got so much more going on. They seem blind to it all.
Absolutely. Is that we're the Haitians.
Yeah.
Where are some of these other people? But the AG is, I think he's out of line on this. I think he needs to sit back. When I was growing up and watching law enforcement, FBI was at the top of the chain. Mm-hmm. And when you start doing this, you drop them down to no more than a political tool. Mm-hmm. And that has got to stop. And I think, personally, the solution to that, and Biden's not the only president that did it. Trump's done it. Bush has done it. They haven't had a real cop as their director in almost 40 years. And what we need is a cop at the top of that organization who is ethical and willing to be fired for doing the right thing.
I love that. I think that all of the departments really, when you're talking about the federal government, would be better served by someone who actually has like the experience and not 80 years ago, right? I mean, you see Fauci and how it's like, when's the last time he's even seen a patient? And he is making all of these calls. They're just so far removed in the bureaucracy that I think they forget what it's like to actually be a person in real life like the rest of us. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. So if you are living life in pain, maybe you have reached the age where everything hurts all the time. You roll out of bed and you're like, I think I pulled something. I don't know how, because all I did was roll out of bed. What you don't realize is the underlying cause is probably inflammation in your body. And unless you defeat that inflammation, you can cause permanent damage. Omega XL is backed by 35 years of clinical research, and it actually attacks the root cause of the problem, which is the inflammation. So if you are over there and you get in pain and you take a topical cream and rub it on your shoulder, it feels good for 10 minutes and then it completely wears off. Omega XL is not going to do that. It will neutralize that inflammation. It is, by the way, an essential fatty acid combination from the waters of New Zealand. So I know you men out there are like, oh, well, if it's natural, it doesn't work. Oh, but you're wrong. It does. And we have our own Pat Gray, who also is a man, or at least he identifies as one, I believe, who used this. He could not move his elbow. He used this within a week. He was feeling way better. Within 2 weeks, he felt completely better again. You got to try it if you're in pain. It can change your life. Go to omegaxl.com/news. You can get one bottle and get a second bottle for free over at omegaxl.com/news. So we were discussing the FBI, who is now waging war on parents who, by the way, pay in their taxes for all of these school board meetings that they are trying to attend and voice their opinion on what their children are being taught. The FBI is focusing on that. And as Matt Walsh kind of alluded to, we have people who are actually harassing senators. And not just like, oh, I'm going to come talk to you while you're at dinner or while you're walking through someplace. I mean, they followed, we played this on the show yesterday, guys. They followed Kyrsten Sinema into the bathroom, which is illegal in Arizona. I think I heard a man's voice that was in that clip as well. So there was a male and a female, at least, following her into the bathroom. So I wouldn't call that kosher. But what do I know? I guess the FBI is totally fine with that and not with these types of things. So yesterday, like I said, we talked about Kyrsten Sinema, who was harassed in the bathroom at Arizona State University. It didn't stop there. They also harassed her at the airport, and even worse, during her flight. So here, this is the thing too. These people keep taping it as if it's something to be proud of, as if they're not completely embarrassed and mortified that they did this to someone. So here is Kyrsten Sinema being approached on her flight by basically an illegal immigrant activist who tries to corner her and talk to her about the bill that she hasn't even voted on yet. Just said, "I don't support it." Watch.
Senator, hello. How are you? Good. Sorry, I'm Karina. I don't know if you remember me. I just want to know if you can commit, as my senator, if you can commit to passing a reconciliation that could provide a pathway to citizenship for immigrants. We have been waiting for this for too long. I just need to know if you can commit to passing a budget reconciliation that would include immigration and citizenship for people to be protected, like me and many others. Can you commit to that, Senator?
I can't. The idea that you should be applauded for taking your phone like this and doing some gotcha moment to someone on a plane, regardless of who they are, is just beyond me. It's insane. Can you? What do you do if you're Sinema? Are you ever voting for any of their stuff again?
So these are targeted hits. Okay, this is the next level of what we call an internet troll. All right, this is real life trolling with people. They're targeting this, just like in the bathroom scene when the clip when they go in there and they're talking about the Build Back Better plan. They're using the name for that because I guarantee you these people are operatives. They know that they're there to do that. I don't think she was filming herself, taping herself. She had another person who was taping
you
that.
Think?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, regardless, it was all set up. Obviously,
it was a setup to do all of these things. No, I never would. And again, I don't know what you guys talked about on the show yesterday because I don't watch this crap. But let me tell you,
I love you too.
I was on the road. But imagine if this was a conservative who was coming at her doing this, or a Trump supporter, God forbid, one of those insurrectionists, somebody that they would be brought up on federal charges, they'd be labeled domestic terrorists, they'd be, all of these things. This would be see what these conservatives are doing. They're attacking senators again. They want the overthrow of the government. You would have all of this narrative. And of course, Joe Biden just laughs it off as, hey, this is just something that happens unless you have Secret Service people.
Right.
So what would I do if I was Kyrsten Sinema? Well, if I'd have been in the bathroom, I'd have beat them.
I would have a hard time. I can't believe she stayed silent. I really can't. Yeah. I mean, kudos to her.
Yeah, she needs to maybe tighten up her security a little bit.
Yeah, I would recommend the same thing. Sheriff, I want to get your thoughts, but Chad, you mentioned Joe Biden's response to this. So he was asked about this yesterday. And, he came out and said the right thing by saying, they were wrong. But, it happens to everyone. It's part of the process. Listen.
Joe Manchin had people on kayaks show up to his boat to yell at him. Senator Sinema last night was chased into a restroom. Do you think that those tactics are crossing a line?
I don't think they're appropriate tactics, but it happens to everybody. From the only people it doesn't happen to are people who have Secret Service standing around them. It's part of the process. Yes, sir.
It's just all part of the process, Sheriff.
It's not in Tarrant County. let me say that, is that this lack of civility is just absolutely incredible. And that good senator took the high road, didn't respond. But the lack of civility is crashing this nation. And until we bring back some type of kindness, respectfulness, and say, okay, I agree to disagree with you, and I'm going to appropriately go through your office to visit with you, this kind of stuff is as bad as anything that we talked about on the school business. Is these uncivil people, and they shouldn't be given the time of day.
I want to bring back duels, Sheriff. Like, let's do like. It would stop people from getting offended. Like let's just bring back that kind of. Let's slap them in the face with a leather glove and the pistols at dawn.
There you go.
Right? I mean, that's civil. I mean, there's an element of civility to that.
I also think there is. I mean, part of it is, you know, these people are so brazen. They break our laws getting here, or someone had to break a law to get, let's say, a child. If a child is too young to cross themselves, someone broke a law to get you here. So you're here illegally, and you're so bold to just be like, yeah, I'm here illegally. You need to make it right for me. Why are we not just deporting these people?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this ability to close your space and have zero respect for the person that you're even dealing with.
But how do you get them? So how do you get them to recognize that? Because I agree with you that we need to get back to a place of civility. But I think conservatives for so long have been like, well, we're going to be the morally sound people, right? We're going to be better than that. We're going to stay above, and the left is not going to play that way. So how do we make the shift?
Yeah, as the president so quietly said, that's not good tactics. Why didn't he strongly come out and condemn that? Just focus on that. Let's just focus on that. We don't want anybody doing that. It needs to stop. Those people are not good people that do that. I wish that the leadership in Washington would do that. And I think that the other way is that that's what we're seeing crumbling is our rule of laws. And, you know, we've lost the border. We've, you know, look how we treated our neighbors in Afghanistan. You know, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. And we have got to regain honor, regain a high ridge of distinction of respect for each other. That plane is going to hit the dirt pretty hard and crash and burn.
Yeah, Chad.
And a strong show of force does demonstrate some element of civility. It at least encourages it. I mean, nobody's ever followed you into the bathroom. You're an elected official. You know how to defend yourself on multiple levels. I know how to defend myself. I have a peacemaker, and I have a guy with me at all times. They don't follow me in the bathroom either. They're targeting. This is the tactic of the troll, right? They're going to target the weakest, and they're going to go after, you know, this seemingly defenseless female senator. I'm sorry, but this is where pronouns matter, and they're going to target her in this situation. But then to sweep it under the rug like the president did. Nobody ever followed Joe Biden into the bathroom when he was a senator.
That's what I was thinking. He says, oh, it happens to everyone. And I was thinking, when has it happened to you?
Never.
It never happened to you. You were in Congress for 10 million years, and it never happened to you. And by the way, okay, so hold me accountable here. I was trying to think of a time when he says it happens to everyone. And I was trying to think, have conservatives done this to the left? Because I couldn't think of a time.
It happens if you listen to Maxine Waters, who says, "Oh, you need to harass them."
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they're encouraging.
Impeach, and you go to the restaurants and give them a hard time, and they did that.
Right.
So now but see now, so the Democrat politicians are not afraid of the right anymore. They're afraid of the progressive left.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Because this house of cards, now they're devouring each other. It's a circular firing squad. They created this monster, and now they can't control it.
Which, honestly, I love to see it. I love that a lot.
Don't you, though?
I love to see that. All right, we've got more to come, including the new bombshell report that documents evidence that coronavirus was spreading in Wuhan as early as May 2019. Oh my gosh, clutch your pearls. I'm sure you're super shocked to hear that China knew all along and didn't say anything. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Chamonix. So I would really love like an extra hour or 8 night's sleep, but with my crazy schedule and my baby that never sleeps, that's not going to happen. I'm sure a lot of you out there can really relate to this, but at least I can look well rested. I can fool everyone with Genucel from Chamonix. So I have been using Genucel from Chamonix, this company that they utilize this plant stem cell therapy specifically targeting eye puffiness and bags. It is really, really powerful natural serum, and it has immediate effects. So it is guaranteed to show results in as little as 12 hours or your money back. So you can take the risk knowing that what you have invested, if it doesn't work, you will get your money back. Users saw results in only 12 hours with dramatic improvements in 2 weeks, and it contains 8 extra ingredients to significantly reduce the appearance of bags and puffiness. They use, like I said, that patented plant stem cell technology to improve longevity and brilliant long-term results. We have the before and after here, if we can look at that really quickly. It really does work, you guys. So if you are suffering from, you just don't get enough sleep, or maybe you've just hit the age where you just don't like the way your skin looks, I highly suggest you give this a try. If you order now, you'll get 50% off all Genucel packages. That is 50, half off. If you go to lovegenucel.com/Y, get 50% off at lovegenucel. That is lovegenucel.com/Y. A new report documented evidence that the coronavirus has been spreading in Wuhan as early as May 2019, and the Chinese government, of course, knew about it. This is a report called Procuring for a Pandemic, an assessment of, how do you say this, Hubei? Province, PCR, thanks, we'll go with it. PCR procurement contracts. It does show that the government in China was buying up testing related to the coronavirus much earlier than the officially recognized beginning of the pandemic. So this PCR testing, the PCR procurement contracts are called like the gold standard of the coronavirus testing. And they were dramatically increasing their number of these PCR procurement contracts in 2019. The increase was present in both the contract total value and the number of contracts. They also said in this report that the institutional spending on the PCR contracts was greater in 2019 than in the 2 previous years combined. So nothing to see here, you guys. It's not that it was exactly what we said it was at the beginning of all of this, but if you said it on social media on the wrong platform, you would get banned because it was a conspiracy theory. You just fast forward about a year and a half, and here we are right back where we were in March of 2020. By the way, I would just like to throw this story in as well. If the two are related, I'll let you guys decide. NIH Director Francis Collins is going to step down. He has announced that he is going to resign by the end of the year. I just found it interesting, this departure. They do say that it was planned for some time, but I do find it interesting, the announcement of this departure literally the day before this report surfaces. By the way, that spot will be open. This is Fauci's boss. So who takes the spot? Show that full screen again, Steve. That guy?
Okay, so he's holding the, if we ever at any time in history, built models of a virus and just, everybody knows what that looks like now, and we've so publicized this, this whole thing is just so theater, right?
Yes.
The whole deal is just so much theater. It's insane the way that we have built this thing, and now we center our entire culture and our lives around this entire thing. So it'd be great if I thought somebody with common sense and that was going to respect real data and science and medicine were going to step into that position, but no. Just like the FBI, everything's so politicized, we don't trust any of it.
Well, and it's so bureaucratic, right? Mm-hmm. This is the type of thing that we were talking about, that these are guys who have worked in the government for so long. They've been so far removed from the person who they are affecting when they're talking about all of these policies. And by the way, just to have you chew on this, along with Anthony Fauci, this guy, Francis Collins, in 2011 wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post defending gain-of-function research. So, and he, by the way, was still the person in 2014 and 2019 who approved the grants for the nonprofit EcoHealth Alliance, who we have talked about on the show, to study the bat coronaviruses in China, which were, of course, gain-of-function research studies. So again, whether these two stories are related, I don't know. I'm just presenting them both as news of the day. And
you're going to get banned by 6 o'clock.
For saying what?
That's why we don't.
They're all two separate stories.
We don't say the C word. We don't say the V word. We don't say any. It's just the blah blah now. On my show we just say the blah blah. The virus is the blah blah. The vaccine is the blah blah. We don't even talk about these. These are things we talk not of.
I mean, I feel like that's going to get pretty confusing when everything's the blah
blah. The whole
blah.
thing's confusing. I mean, you just stand up there and say blah 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 blah, and that's exactly what's coming out of Fauci's mouth. So why not?
Well, you're not wrong there.
This is clown world we've moved into. We're not in reality anymore. Bats are delicious if you cook them right.
Ew.
You got to get the wings crispy, Sheriff. That's the little barbecue sauce.
You're so weird.
These guys from back east that wear hats.
Well, I'm country. Listen, I got a cousin that got arrested for selling chicken salad sandwiches at a cockfight because she didn't have a food permit. Oh, I understand this kind of stuff, man. This world I come out of.
You've eaten squirrel?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I grew up eating squirrel. I used to kill one squirrel a day, and eat it. Yeah, we'd eat it. Eat it for breakfast. White gravy. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I said this is the honky tonk episode. This is what you get.
Making me hungry right now.
Gross. Sheriff, what are your thoughts?
I don't know that I can follow that.
Squirrel.
Well, I could try to veer you back to the actual topic.
The actual topic is that I don't believe in coincidence. So it's interesting that these things are occurring. He said he's been thinking about leaving for some time. My goodness, he's only been in office 6 months.
Right. Yeah.
Sometime, and then the other thing is back in the day we couldn't talk that this might have come out of a lab because we'd get banned.
Right.
That was the first red flag of that. Wait a minute, we're doing an investigation. We're already ruling out things without evidence.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
First red flag.
And you have the World Health Organization, who clearly the documentation shows that they've been in China's back pocket the whole time.
Sure.
They were the ones who were coming out saying, oh, no, what they're saying is totally true. Yeah. Everything is above board what they're saying. You should definitely listen to them and their research.
Absolutely. And interesting enough that, coming from an animal is one thing and coming out of a lab is a whole different thing because, I personally had COVID and I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I had a mild reaction to it, and it's just interesting on how it's targeting and how it not only inside organs but who it targets.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if China actually pays any price for this. I don't think that the U.S. would hold the charge on that.
Not with this administration.
Right, and that's why I say that. But I mean, you have to wonder, are any other countries going to go, hey, you know what? We had a lot of our people die. You probably should be held accountable for that. Or they're just going to get away with it?
I think right now people are going to look where? To Washington.
Yeah.
Whether they're in Europe or whether they're in Asia, they're going to say, what is Washington doing?
Yeah.
And however, we might be surprised because, 20 years ago when we were making fun of the French, they're suddenly leading in a lot of bold causes, so the French may stay up and say something.
I know. And that would be embarrassing. That would be really embarrassing, Chad.
I can speak enough French to get by. I love weird cheese that smells funny and wine, so I can go over there and hang with the French.
I mean, when we're talking about if we could pick our overlords, whoever our next overlords would be, I would not pick China. I'm totally going France. If you have to have one.
Yeah, if you have to have one.
Yeah, il n'y a pas de quoi.
I don't know.
I said I don't know.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I don't speak French, obviously. All right, we've got...
Much better food than the English.
Yeah, way better.
Oh.
Way better.
It's okay. So is English food bland? Is that
bland?
It's
horrendous.
That's the road that we're traveling right now.
I love you, but it's horrendous, and you know this.
I feel like they get very offended when you say that.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Okay. So this video will not be taken down for what I said. It's going to be taken down because you've offended the English.
But here's the thing. Back in the 1770s. We used to shoot at the British with hunting muskets with hats that were made out of squirrel on our head. So we don't really care about what they think right now. We just don't. Boris, globalist.
That's fair. All right, we've got more to come, including what was going on at Facebook yesterday. And we'll be back in a minute.
Facebook.
He lost $7 billion.
I love it. We mentioned on the program yesterday, Facebook was down along with what they own. Instagram, WhatsApp, they were all down. All of these social media outlets were down for the better part of yesterday. Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg lost just a quick $6 billion of his personal wealth as the stock for the company plummeted. Let's see, the outage, it was $335.50 a share at the opening bell and went down to $326.23 a share at the close of the day. It was a 4.89% plummet. But don't worry about Mark. He'll be fine. Good old Marky Mark, because he still has just $121.6 billion. So I mean, I don't know what do you do if you have that much money and you lose $6 billion of it? Like, do you cry? Or are you just like,
look, here's where you're crying. Like, I can't relate to that, but I love to see these rags to riches stories, and then sometimes you go back to rags. It's kind of a cinematic, theme there. When I started out, I think I had like $24 in the bank. Now I've got 17. It's so I can't really relate to this story at all on any level whatsoever.
Right.
I don't even know how many zeros a billion has. I don't even think my calculator goes
I was going to
that
say
high.
the calculator
It
stops
runs out of
before you
spots,
get to it. Yeah, Sheriff. So let me just. Were you keeping up with this yesterday?
I was not.
I was.
I was not.
My idea.
Works.
I know that's my thought process was like, you don't really care what's going on with social media at any given point of the day.
Well, I care if they're organizing riots and protests and that kind of thing.
Right.
But some of that's monitored. But this kind of thing is for Mark. I think he's probably taken the position. It was paper yesterday, and it'll be paper tomorrow.
Well, it just was a very peculiar chain of events, because you had this Facebook whistleblower who was testifying it was yesterday, right? It was at the same time.
No, today. She testified. She was before Congress today. She came out, she made a statement.
That's what it was.
And then she testified before Congress today.
And
and
yesterday was when the outage happened, and there were employees who said, we can't get into the building. Nobody could get in, they said. And there was this big outage. And so there was a little bit of speculation there, but this whistleblower, just so that you guys know, she has a record of donations to far-left Democrats and a history of raising issues about purported bias while at previous employers as well. She's also repped by the same lawyer for the whistleblower behind the Trump impeachment. So it's very, very bizarre. Here's what she had to say, and I want to get your thoughts on if we were to just make any sort of, just educated guess about what's going on, what it would be. Here is the Facebook whistleblower, Frances Hogan. Watch.
The patterns that children establish in their teenage years live with them for the rest of their lives. The way they conceptualize who they are, how they conceptualize how they interact with other people, are patterns and habits that they will take with them as they become adults, as they themselves raise children. I'm very scared about the upcoming generation, because when you and I interact in person and I say something mean to you and I see you wince or I see you cry, that makes me less likely to do it the next time, right? That's a feedback cycle. Online kids don't get those cues, and they learn to be incredibly cruel to each other, and they normalize it. And I'm scared of what will their lives look like where they grow up with the idea that it's okay to be treated badly by people who allegedly care about them. That's a scary future.
So really, her argument is that there should be more censorship on Facebook, more government involvement, not less. I don't think it's a coincidence that she has all of these ties to the far left. She's donated to all Democrats, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and people of that nature. So it's hard to not think this is kind of, I don't know, not that the Democrats would ever set anything up.
Oh no, I think she was a sacrificial lamb. I think that, they felt the pressure and the push from D.C. Silicon Valley's felt that. And so it's almost like a setup. It's like, okay, let's make her the paschal lamb, right? Let's just put her out there. She's gonna be the person that's going to go out there. And it's going to almost be, now we'll let the government control us a little bit. But ultimately it gets them off of our back. Yeah. Because now we can do whatever we want to do. Because let's face it, they're the puppet masters that are pulling the strings. And you know, look, I love the fact that Facebook got put in Facebook jail for 8 hours. I live in Facebook jail.
I was going to say, you're quite familiar with Facebook jail.
Very much so. I think I'm headed in right now. But is that why you're here?
It is.
You're taking him to Facebook jail?
Facebook jail. That's it. He blew my cover.
I tell the sheriff all the time, we've been friends a long time. I'm like, I hope I never have to call in a favor. I guarantee it will not be over Facebook. And even then, I don't know that he'd give me the favor. This is a rule of law guy.
I don't think he would.
But no, it's a mess. It really is. And look, I don't disagree with what she was saying in its essence. Okay, I mean, you could apply that to say mask mandates. Right. It's going to imprint children in how they're going to grow up and be as adults.
Well, you also like the parent should not be letting their kid on Facebook.
Right.
Just to be doing all of this.
And they're out there. Yeah. But I don't believe in censorship in any form.
Right.
In any form.
Yep.
And you get in trouble when you start doing that. But that's what they're demanding is more oversight in what gets out there. You don't want to be bullied. Hit the button.
I know.
Turn it off.
Well, but that's why I'm saying, and if you can't expect a kid to do that, where are their parents? Why are their parents not watching what they're doing? Why did their parents let them get a Facebook account? I mean, there are plenty of questions that we should be going to before let's go ahead and censor people more because they might be really mean on the internet. Sheriff, what are your thoughts?
I agree that we do not need any more censorship. We've had enough. I think, again, in essence, what she said was true, but what she's saying is hey, parents, you parent.
Right.
And then if somebody wants to get on there and do whatever they do, they do. And you get a choice to either watch it or not watch it. In this day and age, you know, on our communication devices, we can see anything we want. And so what keeps us from doing that? Inner discipline, faith, what is it? But I don't want the government deciding.
Right.
Especially not this one.
No.
Not right now. I mean, I don't want government involvement. I don't know exactly what the answer is because something needs to happen, but it's really difficult for me to get on board with any sort of government involvement in the Biden administration times.
I think this was leaning toward at the end of the year. What I would agree with is take the government protection away from those media sources and let them stand on their own two legs when they do something and be able to have the civil ability to go after them and say, hey, that's not right.
Yes, yeah, 100%. They are not. They are definitely publishers. They are not platforms anymore. If they were, they would be applying everything evenly. All right, Chad Prather, last word. Yeah, go ahead.
Am I crazy? Get it where book. Listen, we poured our heart and soul into this book, and it took forever to get the thing out because of a paper shortage, and it's finally coming out. So, got tons of stuff going on, and you can go to watchchad.com and get all things me. But it is a good book. It's fun. It's insightful. You'll actually walk away having thought about some things, but a few laughs mixed in as well.
It's okay that the world is ending and everything's on fire because you'll feel good about the book. Well, the book makes you at least feel good about it.
We're looking at this woke culture, right? Yeah. I'm taking on the insanity of the woke culture that we've normalized, and it is so created this nightmare that is what we're looking at. You know, everything from social media on down.
Yeah, it'll at least make you feel good. You got to pick it up today. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. This is a part of the program where I try to convince you to go to wherever you get your audio podcasts, and you got to just go there, start typing in the search bar, the news and why. You will probably not have to get that far, and then you will find it, and you will click on that, and then you will see my ridiculous face there. Like, I don't know where I'm looking. I'm looking upwards to the heavens, I guess. Chad's over there giving me the eye.
It's like the Brady
You're giving
Bunch.
Me side eye.
Sort of like the Brady Bunch.
In this picture that I just noticed. You're giving me side eye. It is kind of, it's like the dysfunctional Brady Bunch.
What's Beck doing on there? Does Beck even still work here anymore?
I don't know if we've been blacklisted or what. I haven't seen him in a while. I think he's a hologram.
He doesn't live on the planet
I'm
anymore.
Convinced he's a hologram. But hey, let me read a review really quickly. So you may see a review read live on air like this one. Always enjoy listening with all the guests. Also feel more knowledgeable. Thanks all. This is from JFan57. Thank you so much for your review. Get him in, guys. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here.